New York City, a familiar skyline, the familiar hustle of daily life, familiar sounds, but for the New York Sports Club's Tournament of Champions, an unfamiliar sporting venue. Grand Central Terminal joins the illustrious list of venues for a major international event. Madison Square Gardens or Yankee Stadium it may not be, but over 100,000 people a day will pass the four-sided Perspex Court in the main waiting room and witness the second event of the 1995 High-Tech PSA Super Series. An inspired venue and an ideal stage to show squash to the American public. The world's best are here, except England's Peter Marshall, who is resting under doctor's orders following a liver complaint. All supporters and players wish him a speedy return to the circuit. A look at the current world rankings shows 5 British players in the elite top 8. Peter Marshall at 2, Peter Nicol at 4, Chris Walker, Del Harris and Simon Park at 6, 7 and 8. But it's Jansher Khan in his usual top spot. Khan playing his first tournament since winning his 4th British Open title in Cardiff 2 months ago. He'll be the man to beat in New York. Derek Ryan has fully justified his place in the last 8 against Peter Nicol. The Irishman, ranked 30th in the world, had beaten Zarek Khan and Simon Park, both ranked in the top 10 in the earlier rounds. But Nicol, the 3rd seed, held his composure to register a 3-1 victory. But Ryan had shown that he could well progress to the top 16 before long.
I was thinking he's playing better and better as the game went on, and I was getting a bit worried there. Fortunately, he made a couple of mistakes at crucial time in the 4th, and I got away with it. I've been playing quite well, I've been moving well. It's warm here, so it suits me. I love the warm courts and whatever. I'm looking forward to the semi-final tomorrow.
World champion Jansher Khan brushed aside Anthony Hill in straight games on a warm and humid New York evening. The Australian had no answer to Khan's technical precision, and once again, the world champion looked in ominous form.
I'm happy about my performance, and this is my first tournament after since British Open, and I will just feel strong myself. And for this event, I do hard work for last 2 months in Pakistan, and I'm happy about my quarterfinal today, and I'm playing very good.
Khan's opponent would be either 6th seed Del Harris from England or 4th seed Brett Martin from Australia. The match was played at a furious pace with some extremely hard-hitting from both players. Having dropped the first game, Martin had to show his full repertoire of strokes to claw his way back, and it was the 32-year-old who finally triumphed. But he knew that Harris had again pushed him all the way.
Well, it's always been like that with us too. Ever since we first started playing, we both started playing the circuit about the same time, and there's very rarely been an easy match between us, and today was no exception.
How are you finding the conditions here in New York, on court?
Well, they're a bit steamy, a bit hot, but it's not unbearably so. It is quite bouncy and quite warm, but it's okay.
Defending champion Rodney Isles gained a straight games win against world number 6 Chris Walker from England. The game was prone to some erratic refereeing decisions. Both players seemed frustrated, but Isles' width and length always had Walker in trouble. And it was the Australian who progressed to meet Nicol in the semi-final.
They're never easy. It was pretty hot on here tonight, and Chris takes the ball very early, and it was just one of those games that was over pretty quick, but it was at a pretty fast pace.
Arguments have always raged about which sport has the fittest participants. Squash players put in a huge amount of preparation for matches. Their heart and recovery rates are phenomenal. Playing in a 2-hour match, one squash professional had an average beat per minute rate of 185. Former British national champion Paul Gregory volunteered to test for the New York Sports Club technical staff at their workout centre set up in Grand Central Terminal.
Four, 3, 2, 1, stop. Bravo.
Although never having tried pull-ups before, Gregory performed well. So what was the professional verdict on Gregory's efforts?
Well, I'd say he's better than average. Naturally, a lot of people here who don't play squash don't have the kind of endurance that he has. And for a person who has not exactly practiced doing chin-ups or pull-ups and dips, I think that he did very well. Obviously, a lot of these exercises incorporate a lot of back muscles and arm muscles, and on playing squash, I'm sure he's got very strong forearms, as we could see. I think that after doing his endurance test here on the Skywalker, I think it took a little bit out of him. I think without having done the cardiovascular endurance test, I think he would have fared better.
And that's the first time I think I've done chins and dips in my life. I found it very difficult. The first 5 or 10 I found comfortable, but it was too hard for me. I couldn't, it's extremely difficult. The last time I had my heart measured when I was playing a match, it was only a couple of months ago. The match lasted about an hour and 45 minutes, and my average heart rate during that period was probably about, I think it clocked at 185 beats per minute average. It got up as high as 207 beats a minute. And the lowest it got was about 140, but most of the time, it was above 180 for nearly the whole match. It didn't drop much below that.
I think that cross-country, when you're picking cross-country skiing, it's the #1 sport in the world per se for endurance. You burn more calories, you have more endurance and staying power than any other sport that I know of. Rowing is another one of the endurance sports, and I think that squash is definitely up there with it.
Brett Martin is, in my opinion, the most gifted player of his generation. People might be quite surprised at that because his brother was a useful player and is still, and we hope will be a mighty player again, Rodney, who was world champion. But Rodney, to my mind, was always the brilliant mechanic, whereas Brett, I always felt, was the one who had the natural talent. I think he's unbelievably gifted with the racket. He's a coach's nightmare, or a coach's delight, depending how you look at it. He's got the ability at full stretch to put the opponent in an appalling position in the court. He has the wrist that in my own time probably was only matched by Hiddy Jahan. He has the extremes of great power. He can flatten the ball instantly, immense power, and yet at the same time, a second or two later, he will play the most delicate drop shot. He's very strong, very athletic, very economical in the way he moves around the court. This is a player who should have been and should be a big winner. At 32, still very much a mainline contender. I have the feeling, though, that he's never been quite fit enough in the aerobic sense, and somebody like Jansher, for example, would always believe that if he could keep the ball in play, if he can survive the tornadoes that Brett will impose on him and others, then it's possible that Brett will fall into some kind of bad physical patch, and that is the area which I feel Brett should work on, even at this stage, because from my own experience, 32 is actually very young. I'd settle for that now.
Jansher reaches the semi-final without dropping a game. Uzandizaga, Johnson and Hill finding that although out of tournament action for 2 months, the world #1 is still as ruthless as ever. At 32, Brett Martin continues to confound the critics. Another Super Series semi-final and his form looking as good as ever. Martin could cause Khan some problems and approaches the match in a confident state of mind. We join play in the first game, and it's pretty tight. Martin 2 points ahead. Commentators, Jonah Barrington and Chris Robertson.
So Brett's got his lead, but very dangerous opponent.
Down.
Critical stage of the match.
13-10, Martin.
It's a big point here for Brett. Getting an unforced error from Jansher on a straight drop. I'm sure he's very happy with that mistake at this stage of the first game.
Good pressure for Jansher. Oh, that backhand drop shot. Such a potent weapon in this match and all matches for him.
Khan.
And squeezing the stroke.
11-13, Khan.
Jansher always seems so calm, regardless of the pressure.
You can see the tension there on Brett's face and the way he's playing here. He's really desperate to try and get this first game because he understands how critical it is for success against Jansher.
Yes, Lat. Khan from the left box, 11-13.
Looks like he's got a better chance. He thinks if he can smack him in the head with the ball, maybe he's got a good chance of winning this match.
Yes, Lat.
Well, it's been a fierce battle, and at this stage,
13, Khan.
neither player obviously would be at his freshest, but certainly Jansher looks the cooler, if I can say that, because it's difficult for anybody under these conditions to feel in any way cool. Great work in the front of the court by both. Tremendous work again, pushing Brett back, and then the backhand going in.
12-13, Khan.
Again, Jansher under a lot of pressure there, being able to come up with the right shots at the right time.
Stroke to Martin. Hand out, 14-12, game ball.
That was what Brett would have wanted, the easiest way to win a point.
And just as I said it, Jansher hits a poor drive, very loose. Brett comes across, guessing the right direction, giving him game ball here in the first.
So can Brett maximise? Oh.
Hand out, 13-14, Khan. Game ball.
Unbelievably there, Jonah. I think Brett changed his mind there. A little bit of interference. Was going to stop, maybe play a let. Decided to play the drop at the last minute. Unfortunately, knocking into the tin.
So he's got the second chance at game ball. The activity rate increased. Brett just squeezing it back off the back wall.
Yes, Let. Yes, Let. Khan from the right box, 13-14.
So the let given. Brett had his hands on his knees, hoping for a no let. Jansher in again, still game ball to Brett Martin.
Yes, Let. Khan from the right box, 13-14, game ball.
You can always tell when it's getting tight, Jonah. You start getting these bump lets, people looking for strokes, looking for no lets, always trying to get the referee to make the decision.
As the wrist, Jansher read it, and then the little drop.
14 all, Khan. Set 3.
So we've got a set to 3. Choice of 1 and 3 at that stage from the striker. Backhand drop shot, Brett in fast. Jansher looking for a stroke.
No let. Sustain, no let.
And not getting a let. He was looking for the stroke, the ball was tight to the wall. He was looking for an easy point, and the judgment was categorically no let.
That was a great call from the referee there. Jansher trying to play the odds, trying to make it look like he could have played the ball. But Brett was very tight and very deep with that flick down the wall.
Stroke to Khan. Stroke to Khan. And out, 15 all.
Ball coming back on Brett with Jansher placed behind him. The adjudicators felt it was a stroke situation. This is very much the tie-break situation. Very tight.
16-15. Game ball, Khan.
We just have a situation here where Brett's played a few too many shots to the front of the court, giving Jansher the knowledge where it's going, and Jansher knocks that away with a simple forehand drop in the neck.
So Jansher got his first game ball. Oh, what a volley. Brett's opportunity. Cut and thrust round the front of the court. Superb shot.
And out, 16-all. Game ball, Martin.
So Brett, can he close it down this time? Went for it, didn't make it. Just
Game
catching the
Khan,
shot at the top of the tin
17-16.
on the short angle. So first blood and first game to Jansher Khan. 17-16.
Khan took the second game 15-1 in only 4 minutes, but Martin has stayed with him as we join play in the third.
Stroke to Khan.
Yes, looking for the point behind.
Stroke to Khan.
Confirmed stroke.
12-all. Left box.
He's been caught out a few times with that shot today, Brett. Looking for the straight flick down the wall, but Jansher's been sharp to that today. Hangs on the side wall and gets another stroke.
It's such a long haul for Brett Martin because this deficit is huge. He's done wonderfully well in this third
Khan from the left box.
game to
12-all.
reach this stage. He's got to try to claw his way back. Jansher knows how much he's got to play with.
13-12. Khan.
And here we see the pressure that's exerted on Brett here, being 2-love down, looking for the backhand volley flick short. Breaks his wrist, which leads to this deception that he has, but unfortunately leads to a lot of mistakes as well.
Yes, flat. Khan from the right box. 13-12.
And the contrast in movement with Jansher still so economical and Brett visibly struggling more and more as the match has gone on with his movement for somebody who moves so magnificently under normal circumstances.
14-12. Khan. Match ball.
So Jansher Khan on the point of winning this semi-final, the Tournament of Champions. Brett going for it and getting it.
And out. 13-14. Martin. Match ball.
So Jansher Khan's second match ball. Going for the straight nick. All pace and pressure in the last rally. And at the end, another decisive performance by the world champion.
Here we see the straight kill setting up the point here. Brett, all he can do is flick the ball up. Jansher coming in, faking down the wall and smashing across court for the winning shot and the match.
Khan through to the final, but who will meet him there? Join us in a couple of minutes for Peter Nicol against Rodney Isles. Scotland's Peter Nicol stands on the threshold of his second Super Series final. He'll be eager to repeat his semi-final win over Rodney Isles in Hong Kong last year. The left-hander will always battle right to the final point. Having surprisingly dropped a game in the first round, defending champion Rodney Isles has progressed smoothly to this stage. The world number 3 won't relinquish his title without a fight, so quite a match in prospect.
You know, he's going to be very difficult. You know, he's number 4 in the world now, so, you know, to be honest, you can't take anybody lightly in these days, so I'm really looking forward to it.
It's got to be an attacking game, because if you defend, he will take you apart. He's got a very good attacking game himself. So you've got to actually go for him and attack him and not give him the chance and give him the time to play his shots. So it's basically straight and tight at a very fast pace.
Isles took the first game 15-12 in just under 20 minutes. It's locked as we join the second.
It's absolutely nothing between these two in the second game. Peter Nicol in the all-white.
Yes, lad. Right box.
And the struggle is really fierce around the middle of the court. Both players really looking for the ball, trying to put pressure on each other. Oh, that's a great read, great anticipation by Rodney Isles.
And out. 13-12.
Here we see Rodney flicking it up. Peter holding the ball, going for the quick cross court. Rodney guessing, slamming it back at him before Peter had time to pick his racket back up, and that's a big point at this stage in the second game.
And I think, Chris, that Peter Nicol really paying the price for the fact that he has played a lot of what we would have felt were unnecessary cross courts.
13-12, Isles.
He's opened the court out, and when you've got somebody with the sort of anticipatory powers of Rodney Isles and those fast reflexes, you've got to be so careful.
Well, that's right, Jonah. I'm sure Peter's game plan before this match was to keep the ball straight and tight, stop Rodney volleying as much and cutting the angles down, but at crucial stages here, he's cross-courted it a little bit too much and he's paying the price.
Fantastic abilities around the middle again.
And out. 13-all, Nicol.
So can Peter Nicol just push through?
This point was much better though, Jonah. You can see the width there that Peter had got on the cross court, forcing Rodney right to the sideball to play the volley. And Rodney going for a little bit too much there.
Down. Left box. 14-13.
Unfortunate error.
Nicol, game ball.
So game ball to Peter Nicol to level at 1-all. Biggest point of the match for him. And going cross court. That is a stupendous drop under pressure.
And out. 14-all.
Absolutely dragged into the front of the court, seemingly off balance. Rodney Isles produced lovely little faded drop into the sidewall nick. Very good lob recovery. Tight to the wall and well squeezed.
On the left. 15-14, Isles.
So playing to 3. First blood to Rodney Isles. And the counter drop shot.
And out.
Too much for Rodney's
15
response.
Nickel.
There was a much better option there from Peter Nicol instead of the cross court. Holding the ball a little bit more. Forcing the counter drop and catching Rodney on his heels there. Big phase of play here for Peter.
Peter trying to get the depth to the back of the court. First one really to get beyond three-quarter. Good opportunity to go straight, went cross court. And unfortunately, got himself caught out in a stroke situation.
And out. 16-15 game ball.
And game ball to Rodney Isles for a 2 games to love lead.
Yes, lad.
Oh, that's a very,
15 game ball.
interesting call there from the referee, Jonah.
Yeah, it was a tight decision. It could have definitely been a stroke situation.
Rodney's definitely not one of those players that would prefer to play it. Always let the referee make the decision if it's close.
And the pace has been unrelentingly fast and furious. Again at game ball. Same emphasis on pace, early ball, volley, maximising on pressure.
This is a great rally here. Great rally, Jonah. Using all ends of the court.
Stroke to Isles. 17-15.
And it had to be. It was a sad way for the game to end. But a correct decision.
Isles taking that crucial second game, but Nicol hit back to win the third 15-1 in less than 3 minutes. Isles conserving his energy. We go to the fourth with the defending champion 12-8 ahead.
Stroke. Stroke sustained. And out.
So a clear-cut decision.
9-12. Nickel.
Peter Nicol just hanging on.
You get the feeling, Jonah, that Peter can sneak back into this game. Happen to get the fourth, that he's going to be stronger than Rodney in the fifth.
No lad.
Oh, very interesting discussion now, I imagine.
Yes, lad. Overruled.
That steely glare's worked yet again, Jonah.
White box, please.
And the crowd at Grand Central
9-12,
Terminal
Nicol.
really appreciating this tough, engaging battle.
He's like the big bad cowboy dressed in black here today. Doesn't really care what the crowd thinks of him, as long as he gets the job done.
Yes, lad. 9-12. Nickel.
Peter Nicol, seemingly imperturbable. And that counter drop on the forehand side has paid him a handsome dividend in this match. Good choice of stroke.
Here we see it again.
10-12.
He's played it many times, holding the ball, looking for the drive, throwing the drop in, and Rodney caught not even on his heels, but on his hands that time.
Oh, the celebrated Australian boast from deep in the back part of the court.
13-10. Isles.
Peter Nicol left for dead.
That was a wonderful reply from the previous point. Rodney's renowned for that shot.
Right up. And out. 11-13. Nickel.
Peter's not giving in, though. He's giving as good as he gets here, and he's fighting back again. And again, if he can sneak this fourth game, you've got to fancy him in the last with his fitness and his strength.
Right up.
And these players have been powering through in
14-11.
80 degrees
Isles,
of Fahrenheit,
match ball.
and Rodney Isles goes to match point.
No lead.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
It has to be a stroke.
No lead.
No chance of playing the ball.
Stroke. Yes, lead. Yes, lead.
I think sanity has prevailed and common sense.
Well, there's only 3 decisions that could have been made, and all 3 have been
Left
made.
box, Isles to serve, 14-11, match ball.
So pick it out of the hat. And Alet's the decision. And I don't think that's a very fair one for Peter Nicol.
At least he gets another chance. Pole position. Lob over the top. Not getting depth on the drive, but the error from Rodney. The crowd behind Peter Nicol in this uphill
12-14
fight.
Nicol, match ball.
There's one thing about Rodney Isles, if he's got a few match balls and a few chances to go for it, then he certainly will.
Yes, Peter Nicol knows he can't set anything up. Still match point.
13-14 Nicol, match ball.
He's got to serve tight, he can't feed Rodney Isles. Game going in short, cutting off, and it hit him.
Match to Isles.
So a memorable semi-final in the Tournament of Champions. Ending on a little bit of a sad note as the ball came back down the middle of the court, catching Peter Nicol unawares. And the young Australian goes through to the final.
This is a solo routine I use to practice straight lobs and cross-court lobs, trying to put myself under a little bit of pressure by hitting the ball off the back wall, and then I have to run quite fast to the front of the court and then play a defensive lob, hopefully to make it die in the back of the court. So I'll just show you what I practice by myself at home. Just go and pick the ball up, feed yourself again, put yourself on a little bit of pressure, making the ball die in the back corners. It's usually the side and back wall where I try and aim. I've got something to aim for. I want to hit the ball as high as I can on the front wall and as slow as I can. And to do that, the ball has to die in the back corners, and you want to hit the ball so it hits the side wall where your opponent would usually volley the ball. So he's in 2 minds whether to go for the shot or let the ball bounce, and hopefully he lets the ball bounce, and then it's hopefully won't be able to retrieve it. You've got to get down to the ball, hit the ball as high as you can on the front wall, and always have something to aim for on the side wall and the back corners. That's the most important thing. You want the ball to stop and run along the back wall. You don't want the ball to hit the side wall, then the back wall, and then bounce out in the middle of the court, which opens the court up for your opponent. So those are a few things that I think will help if you can, concentrate on that. And, hopefully, as I said, the court will open up for you if you do play the lob well. Just run through a few specifics about the lob, trying to get my footwork, my racket and technique right, just to get someone to feed you, and we'll show you a few things that might help your game. Always get your racket up early, bend down low to the ball, open the racket face up, hitting the ball as high as you can on the front wall, with as little amount of pace as possible, so the ball doesn't bounce out at all from the back wall. Bend down to the ball, but as you see, I'm keeping the same technique as if I was going to drive the ball, so my opponent doesn't know what I'm going to do.
With nearly 1 million people walking past the 4-sided court during the week, what did the native New Yorker think of this sport?
I think it's pretty nice. Everybody seems to be enjoying it. It's a pretty cool sport from what I can see. Action, it's pretty intense. Get run around, get a good workout out of it. It's pretty good.
It's been wonderful. Each day, thousands of people are walking by that have never seen the game before, and it's showcasing squash in New York City.
It's similar, I feel it's similar to racquetball, and little difference, so we're up for a challenge.
Well, I think it's interesting. It's pretty cool having to see things while you're passing by.
I think I would like this. It's similar to tennis, it looks like, or squash, like you play inside the square. Looks nice. You gotta be very, very active to play this.
The final of New York Sports Club's Tournament of Champions. Number 1 seed Jansher Khan against number 2 seed Rodney Isles. Khan took the first game 15-5 in only 9 minutes. We join the second game with Khan to serve.
Well, we've only been running 17.5 minutes, and the world champion
12-6
is
Khan.
Absolutely dominant.
And again, we saw an unforced error from Rodney Isles on the backhand side. Usually very, very safe and productive for him, and unfortunately that's been the story here in the final. A very good Jansher and a below par Rodney Isles.
You appealing the get?
No, I wouldn't want a pizza. I'm appealing.
Here we see half-court ball, Jansher throwing in a nice boast, Rodney coming in for the flick.
13-6.
Jansher stretching full turn, knocking it cross court. And we have an appeal from Rodney Isles on that, but it looked like to me he got the ball.
And Jansher in so much control, I mean, absolutely unaware of the 90-degree conditions. It's the hottest day of the year in New York.
14-6, game ball.
Karachi-like conditions, Chris, really.
Well, obviously, Rodney coming from Brisbane in Australia and Jansher coming from Pakistan, they're both quite used to the heat, but obviously Jansher, with his physical game and his movement, would be enjoying this a little bit more than Rodney.
Stroke.
And being 1 love up, and just about to win the second game, I'm sure he is enjoying it a lot more than Rodney.
So Jansher at game ball.
Game.
And there it is, a 2 games to love lead.
Here you see Jansher at his best, coming in, stretching to the full, flicking it across into the neck and destroying Rodney there at that last point.
8-4, Khan.
Is there any way in which your good friend Rodney Isles can get back into this game, Chris?
Well, I think it's a case of Jansher not letting him to do too much here in the final today, Jonah, but Rodney does look to be a little bit impatient. He's not building the rallies, he's not getting the necessary length. And against Jansher, you must be extremely patient and play to your maximum. And unfortunately for Rodney, that's not happening here today. A little bit of controversy here about a decision. Jansher feeling that his ball was good. Referee calling it down. And the decision's been overruled, I think. So nothing's going right there for Rodney.
He's not getting anything, Mike Riley. Finally delivering the...
Here we see it. Backhand volley and Rodney flicking it up down the wall. Jansher coming in for another backhand drop volley. And to me that looked okay.
10-4, Khan.
So the peerless performance from Jansher Khan in what is really the most fantastic location at Grand Central. Huge chandeliers above the court.
5-10, Isles.
Well, there's a little bit of history there. Jansher's just drilled the ball straight back into himself there for a point to Rodney. It's fair to say you won't see another one of those for quite a long time. Maybe that's just the start to get Rodney going.
6-10, Isles.
Jansher knows that he's got so much to play with. Can afford to make the odd error.
Again, it's been a fantastic performance from Jansher Khan. The last time these two played was in the British Open semi-finals, and it was an extremely tough 3-1. But but Jansher kept the ball very tight and deep, controlled the pace, slowed Rodney down, hasn't allowed him to use his volleys and his speed, and really has reduced him to much less of a player than he usually is.
And the capacity crowd appreciating
7-10 Isles.
a little bit of Rodney Isles' success, infrequent, but I'm sure this crowd has understood that they are seeing the ultimate in excellence from Jansher Khan.
Here we see it, Jonah, off the back wall boast, but unfortunately it's just gone out. Nice to see Jansher under a little bit of pressure.
7-10 Isles.
And Rodney has a little bit of a roll on here at the moment. He's picked up a few points in a row. If he can keep it going, he might be just able to sneak back into this third game.
This rally demonstrating vividly the Pakistanis' powers of retrieving, the remarkable mobility, reflexes, and then that astonishing ability at the end. And his opponent acknowledging the fact.
Here we see Jonah. Rodney had the opportunity to knock it cross-court wide, but it's been a bit of a story there today, hitting it through the middle, and Jansher seems to be everywhere. Losing an opportunity there.
8-10 Isles.
And Rodney Isles always fighting to the last.
Yes, led.
The crowd not believing that's a let, Jonah, but Jansher easily would have picked that up. Lovely shot from Rodney Isles, little trickle boast, deceptive, but Jansher's ability to read the play is one of his strengths.
Yes, let. Healing for over stroke.
And not the normal sort of appeal that we have maybe, but still getting the dividend from for Rodney Isles.
Good decision there from the umpire that overruled. Rodney was unable to complete his full swing there because of Jansher being too close to him. And
11-9 Khan.
But unfortunately for Rodney, he's given the point straight back, and the momentum might swing back to Jansher now.
Yes, and you get the feeling of Jansher, whatever the circumstances, creeping inexorably towards that title.
Stroke to Khan.
Jansher getting the stroke confirmed. And the match has only lasted for 30 minutes.
But that last point was a huge problem that Rodney's had today. Just when he's got back into the match, he's unable to hit a simple drive straight down the wall, screwing out for the stroke.
39 Khan.
And against Jansher Khan, you just cannot afford to be below your best.
Jansher changing the direction of play.
Out.
And Rodney really desperate, going backwards off balance.
14-9 Khan, match ball.
So Jansher Khan, championship ball. Stretching in the front, the lob, good, but Jansher covering back easily. And a good drop shot, forcing the error, forcing the stroke.
10-14.
Rodney Isles lives again.
It's let 10-14 Isles.
These last couple of points have been much better for Rodney, working that backhand short corner, an area that he usually gets a lot of dividends from.
And Rodney goes for it again, and sadly the final error, and the world champion takes the Tournament of Champions title 1995. A phenomenal performance in only just over half an hour.
I've got to agree with you there, Jonah. A very, very true professional performance there from Jansher Khan. To beat Rodney Isles, the world number 3 in half an hour, is one of his great efforts of the season, and he's only going to get stronger and stronger.
I played with Rodney Hales many times, and I have a tough fight, with him every time. But especially, I will just say, Tournament of Champion final, I think he have a hard semi-final against Peter Nicol yesterday, I will just say, he's not playing his game 100%. I don't know, I think he's from yesterday tired. But I will just say, he's trying to take ball from the front, but he do a lot of mistake and he's very slow from the front. Well, you can't do better than this, because it's 32 minutes final, and he's probably number 3 in the world, and I will just say, it's difficult to beat him easy to then, but I will just say, the final is pretty easy final, today.